out with the album Ghetto Messiah, and we want to ask him a few questions. A lot of people are wondering about that song, Precious Girl. You mentioned a lot of things in there about how you came to Islam and different parts of your journey, what got you to where you are now. So why don't you expand on that and tell us a little about that?
All right. Yeah, Precious Girl, it's probably one of my favorite tracks. And since we're talking about Islam, I just want to be absolutely clear with everybody. You know, this is a ginger beer. It's non-alcoholic, nothing like that. It's all natural. It's something that a good friend of mine turned me on to a few years back. And I spent some time out in Jamaica doing a project, and they have some of the best ginger beer in the world. And so anytime I get my hand on one, you know, I try to get one. And they got some good ones in Oakland.
Good to know.
But yeah, you know, it's a fun song. It's a song that was inspired by somebody I used to listen to when I was younger, Calm Sense. And, you know, he had a song, I Used to Love Her.
Right.
And with that, he turned the whole song into a metaphor for hip-hop.
Right.
Music is a beautiful thing, but for me, what has really been the catalyst in my life, which has seriously influenced and changed me, has been my spirituality, has been Islam. And so in that song, I basically detailed my whole experience to becoming a Muslim. And it follows similar storyline, because the first time I had any exposure to Islam, I was about 10 years old. And so the song starts the same way that you hear common songs start. I met this girl when I was 10 years old. And from there, you just get bits and pieces of my experience. And one of the first things that I learned about Islam was that Muslims don't eat pork. And so you hear that a little bit in the first verse about stop eating pork. And another thing was I would refer to God as Allah. And from there, I don't want to give too much away because I want the viewers to be able to listen to the track and enjoy it themselves. But then from there, it's just the rest of my experience with Islam to the point where I actually took my Shahada and became a Muslim and submitted to, the Most High Allah.
So when was that? When did you take Shahada? And rumor has it that you actually took Shahada with a videotape from the library?
Yeah, it was about 5.5 years ago, and see, Allah is merciful. Guidance is a part of an environment, and I really didn't have too many people around me that I knew as Muslim, and so it came to a point where I knew this is what I believed in. I believed in Allah, I believed in His Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was that time I didn't know where the masjid was, I didn't know where the Muslims were, and so before anything happened to me, I wanted to make sure that Allah knew my intention and what I felt, and the only thing that I had as a resource was the library, and they had a nice little videotape on Islam and some other information, and there was actually a videotape, how to become a Muslim, something like that. So I watched that, and it went from beginning to end. This is your Shahada, this is what it means, this is how you recite it. And, that was the first thing. And then from there, I was actually, Allah's merciful. I was put into a community of Muslims when I went to school the next year at San Jose State. And that was it.
Who are your main influences musically, politically, and otherwise? And if you had a chance to speak to those people that influenced your music, what would you say to them today?
My parents, when I was younger, had me around a lot of different types of music, mainly R&B, soul, a little bit of jazz, and I feel like I get a lot of my music, just my drive for composing lyrics, any of my experience comes from that. And so one person that really influenced me, I think, was Stevie Wonder. And whenever you listen to a song that Stevie puts together, you can tell there's a message that he's trying to get across. And in his lyrics and the music, everything reflects that somehow, some way. And as a vocalist, a lyricist, I want to do the same thing. I'm trying to communicate a message to whoever's listening. If not, I'm communicating a message to myself. And I want to make sure that I don't waste a word, I don't waste a second in that song. And so I really try to put as much time and energy and effort into getting that message across. And for me, it becomes a challenge because I have maybe 16 bars and I want to say this. How can I say it in the most creative way that others, when they listen to it, they'll be entertained, but at the same time, they'll be able to understand exactly what I'm trying to say. So he's somebody that really has touched me as an artist. And then, since we're talking hip-hop music mainly, I mentioned the name earlier, Common Sense, another person from California by the name of Razkaz. And what I would say to these individuals is, your music has really helped me on my path in learning more about myself, learning more about this world, and getting to the position where I submitted and became a Muslim. So I might ask them, engage them in some type of conversation along those lines, just really thanking them for what they did, but then at the same time, hinting at that piece as well. That's probably where I would go with it.
What is the significance behind the title of your album, Ghetto Messiah? And how does this title capture what you are trying to bring forth with your message?
This album for me is a major step as an artist. I was actually intimidated by doing the solo project. I thought everything that I would do would be a part of a group project.
Right.
And it just came to a point where I felt I had so much I wanted to communicate to somebody. And I was trying to pick a title that I felt would incorporate everything that I'm trying to put into this album, but in a way that is compact and easy to understand, but then it would allow us to open up those doors to explore what I really wanted people to get from it. And what I really don't want people to get from it is the idea that I'm claiming something, that I'm claiming to be some messiah of the ghetto. That's ridiculous. That's the furthest thing from my mind. It's not even a part of anything that I think about when I'm composing lyrics, when I'm trying to do music. I mean, that would be so arrogant of me as a Muslim to think that I'm some type of chosen individual. That's not it. To me, I'm a math teacher. I work in the jail. I teach mathematics to men who are incarcerated. And so I kind of think along lines of formulas. And Ghetto Messiah to me is a formula. There are many individuals who I think fit this ghetto mind state. And that's exactly what I think it is. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being. And it doesn't have to be that way. And for me, it's a state of being where we do things that don't necessarily benefit ourselves. We spend our money on things that really don't mean much. We neglect things that are really meaningful. And so it doesn't allow you to really grow. And then the other piece of that is the Messiah portion. And if you say Messiah to somebody, they automatically start thinking of spirituality. They start thinking of religion. They might even throw out a name like Jesus or something like that, Isa alayhi salam. And so what the formula of Ghetto Messiah, what I think it means is the brothers and sisters who have this mind state, the ghetto fabulous, whatever you want to throw on it, just doing things that don't really benefit themselves. If they want a solution, if they want to change themselves and escape that mind state, the solution is spiritual. It's the correct understanding of what these spiritual figures, these different prophets, these messengers, what they represent, and they don't represent what many people think about when they say Jesus Christ. That's not the truth for us. It's went further than that. There was somebody who came after him, and so who came after him? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so with the correct understanding and an application of that way of life, we would no longer do those things. We would do things that would benefit ourselves and benefit our society, our families, our communities. And we wouldn't be trapped in this worldly life that so many of us are living nowadays. And so, in my mind, that's what Ghetto Messiah is actually about. And if you actually listen to the tracks, you'll see every single song somehow, some way is addressing that. Whether it's talking about problems that we face living and dying for streets, living and dying for fame, for money. And then what I'm trying to explain or share with people is my experience. And so you get a song like Precious Girl. I'm a brother who converted to Islam, and so I used to live a life very similar to that. But Islam is something that has helped me, has changed me, and my way of life now is completely different than what it was before. And so that's what I want to share with you. That's the dialogue that I'm trying to have. Get people to question, why am I doing this? Why do I live this way? Is there something better for me? And if so, I should explore that. And so I'm trying to get people to that point where they start asking those questions or thinking that way. And so that's the essence of Ghetto Messiah. And I think that's the first step. If a person's going to change, they have to acknowledge the fact that what I'm doing right now might not be right. There's probably something better for me. And so the next step is going to be exploring that further. But you first have to get to that point where you question it and say, this might not be it. That's what I'm trying to do with this album.
You heard it live from the Lake Merritt rooftop. Texas.
Like a bee. Why's everybody always picking on me? I've got to be free.